The Oklahoma Sooners got a massive W on the recruiting trail, but you might be asking me, well, what's the win? Because I didn't see commitment come through. You are correct. It's actually big because they got a 5-star offensive tackle on campus this weekend, and you get him on campus in a time where you're scrimmaging, not to mention Oklahoma's got some elite visitors on camp just this week as a whole, and I think it's something that we got to talk about and kind of look at a little bit and say, okay, what's Oklahoma doing and where are they going? And before I do that, guys, I want you guys to join the discussion. Jump down in the comments below and give me your thoughts. Ultimately, do you think Oklahoma can land the 5-star offensive tackle, Michael Fasusi? Because that's what you guys are all here to talk about today. And that's where we'll start. We'll start with the 5-star offensive tackle. So if you guys watched the interview that we had here on the podcast, and this is where I want to start. Obviously, NIL for a 5-star offensive lineman of any sorts is going to be prevalent. It's going to be relevant. And you're going to have schools that decide they want to overpay for offensive linemen. That's just how it works. And if you're a fan that doesn't believe that's how it should work, then you're naive to the process. And you're naive to think that that's not how it's going to work probably for the rest of time unless something changes. However, if you watch that interview, we dove into the NIL part a little bit. And one of the things Michael Fasusi said is, Bill Bedenbaugh creates long-lasting wealth. He sends Orlando Brown to the league and gets him paid. He sends Creed Humphrey to the league and gets him paid. And yes, there is a little bit of development on those guys' part and what they were able to do in the NFL to get those contracts. But the foundations were set by Bill Bedenbaugh. And remember, those are 3-star offensive linemen, by the way, and we're talking about a 5-star. And I get it. Bill Bedenbaugh's whiffed on a couple 5-star offensive linemen before. But Michael Fasusi has a great relationship, if not, dare I say, fantastic relationship with Bill Bedenbaugh. And the thing that I would challenge the people with Texas, which might have finally just started to change over the past visit to Texas with Fasusi, is, and it was in the interview, he talked about his relationship with Bedenbaugh heavily. But then when he got to Texas, you didn't really hear a lot of mention of Kyle Flood. You heard the mention of Steve Sarkisian. So you have to read between the lines. Because Steve Sarkisian's not coaching the offensive line. Now, somebody in the Discord earlier made mention this, and I think it actually is a really good point and something all Oklahoma fans should be aware of, because it's going to probably play a factor in the pursuit of Fasusi. Texas is going to be probably turning over their entire offensive line in 2025. So there will be a spot for Fasusi to come in and immediately compete for it. As of at Oklahoma, you might have to sit a year before you can really crack the lineup. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. If he was there this year, there might be an opportunity for him to start as a true freshman. But he's not in this year. Regardless, I look at it this way. Fasusi gets on campus for a scrimmage. Kind of out of the blue. I mean, it kind of had been in the works. Remember, if you guys have watched the show, I'd kind of told you he's going to be on campus for around the spring game. Then he'll be on for the official visit after that. But I would expect him to be in twice during April. Mainly because you had seen him visit all the other schools. Where he'd been to Oklahoma a lot before that. He'd been to a lot of the other schools before. So it's time for him to start getting back to Oklahoma, understanding what Bill Bedenbaugh was able to do for him, and saying, hey, this is what I'm being offered at the other schools. Like, what can Oklahoma do for me? I get the development part and what could potentially mean later on down the road, but is there any way we could bump this up a little bit, make it a little bit more competitive? Because I really like Oklahoma. Maybe that's the conversation. And if that's the conversation, then if you're an Oklahoma fan, you feel really good. But here's the deal. He gets a chance to get on campus during the scrimmage and watch this offensive line. And I'm going to tell you, I have a feeling that if Bill Bedenbaugh puts out an offensive line in the scrimmage that looks really, really good, in a year where Michael Fasusi has had to hear all of the downers talk about this offensive line for Oklahoma being the potential fall point this season, if he sees, oh, wow, look at this. I've heard this offensive line's no good, but Bill Bedenbaugh's got this offensive line rolling. maybe that plays a factor in his recruitment as well. So I think it's big that you get him on campus during the scrimmage time, but you're also getting him on campus at a time where you got 2026 quarterback Dereon Coleman on campus. And this is going to be a future quarterback that Michael Fasusi might end up one day having to block for. I think that's important. And the reason why I say that is you guys have all heard it. Dereon Coleman's dream school is Oklahoma. And I would bet probably within a couple months, we see a commitment out of this kid if he really, really, really wants to be at Oklahoma. I know Jaden O'Neal is not anyone that we need to be scoffing at either. Jaden O'Neal is a really good talent. It's probably going to come down between those two. And I don't know if Oklahoma takes 2 quarterbacks in this class because you just took 2 in 2024. And the quarterback room's already looking good in terms of just talent and what you're going to have starting quarterback-wise. But having those 2 on campus together, I think helps. It can't hurt. But you've also got Reggie Wilson on campus, a 2025 offensive lineman, a 2025 quarterback in Ali Scott, a 2024 or 5 running back in Brendon Haygood. You've got 4-star inside offensive lineman Will Conroy, who was on campus on April 11th. You had 4-star wide receiver Mason James out of Norman North on campus once again. And guys, how many times has he been on campus already? Like a billion? Like right down the road. Then you got 3-star running back Caleb Crenshaw on campus this week. 2026 athlete Jett Walker. 2026 wide receiver / tight end Jaivion Martin. 2027 wide receiver Jalani Culpepper. And then 28 safety Tylan Henderson. So it's good for these kids to get on campus, see kind of a concept of what these coaches and these position coaches are wanting to do so they can kind of sell it to the recruits. But if you're Oklahoma, you just came off of a really big recruiting weekend in the Heisman hangout. You feel like you made a lot of momentum with guys like Dawson Merritt, who had a really good visit with Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma is probably right there neck and neck with Bama. But I do kind of wonder, like, how much of it is the former Bama and DeBoer. Listen, I'll follow up with some people there and kind of get you guys an info on Dawson Merritt. I just haven't been able to collect enough to really talk about it yet. But I know he was offered out of Washington by DeBoer, so you kind of wonder if that's the relationship there with Merritt. And then you had Kobe Sellers, the 4-star cornerback. Dude, guys, this guy keeps showing up the campus. I mean, I put in the prediction back in November. This guy's been here like 7 or 8 times. He's got an official visit set up for June 21st. The only other 2 is Texas on the 14th and A&M on the 7th, all 3 in June. So you would imagine that Kobe Sellers is probably going to end up in this class. Oklahoma appears to be in a really good position, and I really like where they sit currently because Jay Valai has just been persistent in this recruitment. And again, Kobe Sellers just continues to show up to these recruiting weekends, get on campus, and he just enjoys it every single time. So, guys, I want to hear from y'all, so make sure you guys are joining the discussion, jumping down in the comments below. Give me your thoughts on whether or not you think Oklahoma can land the 5-star offensive tackle Michael Fasusi or any of these other guys that we talked about. Additionally, if you haven't not already and you've made it this far, make sure you hit that like and you hit that subscribe button. Hey, and YouTube wants you guys to watch one of these 2 videos, so make sure you guys are tuning in there.